How to avoid lifestyle inflation. In today's video, I'm going to share my strategies how I am avoiding lifestyle inflation. Hello and welcome. My name is Peter B and I welcome you here at My First Million, where we are achieving our financial goals together. So before I share my strategies, let's quickly have a look at the definition. What exactly is lifestyle inflation, also known as lifestyle creep? So lifestyle inflation is basically the thing that is happening when you earn more, and because you have a higher salary, you start to spend more. So your spendings are adjusting to your salary, and hopefully you'll get more and more increases, so you over time earn more and more. But what could be a risk then is that also your expenses are increasing. Is that really bad? In general, I don't think so. So if you earn more, you should also be able to have a better life and enjoy life more. However, there's one big risk attached to it. It's if you earn a lot now, but maybe later not anymore. This could be now, maybe your salary increases only temporarily. Or maybe it's highly dependent on a job that you currently have. Maybe even if it looks secure now, maybe it's not as secure as you believe it is in the future. Or maybe you have high income now, but you plan to retire soon, and therefore maybe your income will drop as well. So if you're not certain that you can continuously earn this amount of money in the future, lifestyle creep or lifestyle inflation can be a big risk, because if suddenly your salary decreases to a lower level, you might be going into financial troubles pretty soon. So because there's a risk here, we want to make sure that we avoid lifestyle inflation and don't add up any potential risk for the future. And so what am I specifically doing against this? So for me personally, first of all, I don't let my income depending my expenses. Basically, I have my lifestyle now. If I earn more, it's just going straight into savings. Some portion of it will go into taxes, because usually if you earn more, you also need to pay more taxes, but the rest will go directly into savings. Of course, this is easier said than done. And especially if you get a promotion, it's a tendency that you want to go out to celebrate. You want to go for the nice lunch or even buy the car that you have deserved. But for me, a salary increase has nothing to do with this kind of thing. It's just a milestone in my professional career, but not in my personal life, because earning more is not affecting my financial goals. The only thing it is affecting is that I'm able to achieve my financial goals faster. So of course, just doing this is probably not enough for me to keep my lifestyle in situations where I get a salary increase under control. So if my lifestyle is not adjusting according to my salary, when will it adjust? It's adjusting when big lifetime events happen. For example, first time you move out from your parents' home. That's a first big adjustment in your lifestyle. Then later, when you move in with your girlfriend or boyfriend, or get married and have a household together, that's the next big adjustment. Then later, if you have kids, and speaking of experiences, having two small kids, I can tell having two kids is probably one of the biggest influences on your lifestyle. Especially with kids, you are not always taking the same measures of lifestyle to them that you have toward yourself. For example, for us, it's very important that the kids are eating healthy. So we try to avoid too much cheap processed food. Also, we put a lot of emphasis on education. I think that's an area that we can support our two kids. So therefore, we have additional expenses there. later, when we are coming into retirement age, that's the next big change in lifestyle. And maybe at one point or the other in life, hopefully not, but it could always be happening that there are some medical conditions that will affect your financial situations and maybe also your life in general. So these events are the events that should be driving your expenses. You should be able to cover for the expense for your kids. You should be able to cover a medical bill if it's coming in the future. So these are the events that should be driving your lifestyle, not the income. So having this in mind already brings me around 80% there where I should be going to avoid lifestyle creep whenever I get a promotion or a salary increase. So then the next tip is you need to be very careful when it always comes to proportional savings. Very often you will hear phrases like, you should be saving at least 20% of your salary. Or in these days, in these few weeks, I'm also publishing another video about the 50-30-20 rule, where it says that 50% should go toward your essential expenses, 30% should go toward your discretionary expenses, and 20% should go towards your savings. So however, whenever there's a ratio there or a percentage, it is a bit dangerous. These are exactly the things that put you in risk for the future, especially if your salary increase is only temporarily. Let's say you get a big salary increase, let's say even doubling your salary in a short amount of time. And your goal is always to save 20%. So if at first you earned 100,000 a year and you saved 20%, you saved 20,000 and spent 80,000. So if you can double your salary, you are suddenly earning 200,000. So if you take a ratio, you can now spend 160,000 and you're saving 40,000. So you're saving much more in total value, also because you earn much more. However, if the 160,000 become a big bucket of your expenses, let's say you're upgrading your house, you're upgrading your car, you have other big expenses going on, maybe you send your kids to private school because now you can afford it. These are all more or less fixed costs. Of course you can adjust them, but it will be painful to adjust those in the future. But then let's say due to an event in your career, your salary is dropping back to 100,000. So now you suddenly are having a 160,000 expense basis versus a 100,000 salary. So you're basically per year 60,000 in the hole instead of saving 40,000. Of course, this is a bit of an extreme situation, but in a lesser extent, something like this could happen to any one of us. So therefore, additionally to my previous recommendations, be careful every time when there is a discussion about benchmarking your lifestyle. It's a good comparison, so you can know that you're more or less on track compared to what you should be doing, but it's not good enough for justifying your lifestyle with it. Now that we are around maybe 80% mentally there, that we can avoid lifestyle inflation, I give you the 3 juicy tips that will bring me to the additional 20%, to bring me up to 100. So what are the 3 juicy tips? First, I want to have the impression I am the richest kid in my neighborhood. Being the richest kid in my neighborhood, this doesn't mean I'm showing off, I have the biggest house, I'm having the biggest car, but I know in the neighborhood that I'm living, I'm a regular guy. I know my neighbor is not richer than me. I know that the people that I regularly get in contact are probably not the wealthiest. So you might have heard the term keep up with the Joneses. This means if you're living in a rich neighborhood, you will get much more obligations. Even if you have the smallest house in the neighborhood and all around you are rich neighbors, you probably still will be invited to some parties where you are suggested to bring some expensive gifts. Or you cannot drive a beater in your neighborhood if you live in a very rich neighborhood, because your neighbors will then look down on you. So if you live in a rich neighborhood, which is maybe appropriate to your current level, but it will still influence on your expenses. So it's better to wait to make the move to another neighborhood, to a more expensive neighborhood, until you have saved up much more. So delay as long as possible. And again, maybe delay until your lifestyle will change. Maybe at the time when you have children. The first one was being the richest kid in your neighborhood. The second thing that I'm doing, I am looking like the poorest kid in my circle of friends. I'm usually the one caring least about clothes, about what kind of car I'm driving, if I even drive a car, if I have any luxury items. I don't care about this. Also when it comes to vacations, for example, I'm happy if my friends can enjoy some very fancy, nice vacations, if they like to do so. But I'm probably not the one with the fanciest and nicest vacation. So at least from my behavior, it looks like I'm probably not the richest friend in our circle. However, of course, if your friend knows you well enough, at least they have more or less an idea about your financial situation, and that you do this because of your choice, not because of not earning enough. Then the last tip, and probably the one that helped me the most so far in my life, is I can avoid lifestyle inflation because I always had a big financial goal. Throughout my childhood and my teenagehood, I had already one big financial goal. What was it? I grew up very countryside. So I knew the year I turn 18, I want to get my driver's license so that I can drive the car in order to be much more convenient to drive around, to go some places. Because public transportation was very rare in the area that I was living. It was really very countryside, very rural. So during my childhood, during my teenagehood, I didn't invest yet because that's basically not what my parents taught me yet. I learned about investing later in life. But what I did is I saved every penny. I tried to save any penny from my pocket money. When I go to do some work, I try to save as much as possible. When there was a money gift, maybe for Christmas or for Easter from my grandparents or from relatives, I save it. I saved every penny. And indeed, when I turned 18, I had enough money to buy a car. Not a nice car, it was a beater, but it was still a car. And I was able to achieve my big financial goal. So after that, my next goal was to buy an apartment later in life. I didn't know will it be soon in my 20s or will it be in my 30s or maybe later when I'm married and have children, maybe in my 40s. But that wasn't important at that moment after I got the car. But I had a next big goal that I was able to save towards to. So I was saving a lot again because in my mind I needed the money to earlier or later buy a house or even build a house. And to make a long story short, I was already able to buy my first apartment in my 20s, even in my early to mid 20s, relatively soon after I graduated from university. But how was I able to achieve that? Is because I have this goal and I didn't adjust my lifestyle bought a fancier car or a new car as soon as I got my first big job out of university. So after having my dream of my own home fulfilled, what was my next goal? To me, it was always clear that I want to achieve financial independence. I don't want to get old and need to worry about money. I don't want to get in a situation later in life where I need to make a very painful decision only because I don't have enough money. And especially as I married young and plan to have children soon, I also want to make sure that I can provide a safe and stable environment for my wife and my family. So in order to achieve this, my goal was always to become financial independent. Or in other words, financially free. So the common movement nowadays is FIRE. Financial independence, retire early. I don't care too much about the retire early piece, but at least I care about the financial independence. So therefore, this is my big goal now. I didn't achieve this goal yet, but I am on the track to do so, to achieve financial independence. I still have quite a big way in front of me to achieve this goal, but I am on track, and this is my number one financial target now. So if I get a salary increase, coming back to the topic of lifestyle inflation, if I get a salary increase, it will not go toward my lifestyle. It is going toward this big financial goal. So to sum it up, what are you doing to avoid lifestyle inflation or lifestyle creep? Please share with us your tips and tricks in the comments below. I hope I could provide you with some inspiration to make sure that your future self will profit from the decision that your current self is doing. Thanks a lot for joining me today. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and especially I look forward to seeing you winning financially.